Greetings, YouTube, and welcome once again to the satellite of unrequited love for Sunday Funday. Look at all the shit lords I've got in here. Isn't it great? I am joined once again by our podfather, he who art in the Kool-Aid Bane. We've got Feminism is for Nobody, the Grand Baldness that is marking bad, the Eye of Sauron on vacation, positive improvement, the adorable Rebel Base, the horrifying Spinosaurus Kin, and the somewhat delicious taco salad. And I, of course, am your host, the obnoxious Red Robot. Welcome! Hi, guys!
Hi!
Hello.
We having fun yet?
Oh, tons of fun. And only somewhat delicious? Come on. Let's be honest here.
Well,
I am great.
Last time I checked, there was too much mayonnaise on you.
That's weird, man. I don't know what they do over there in Canada land.
What, mayonnaise in the taco salad? Ew.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of disgusting.
It genuinely is.
I'm pretty sure the further you get north, the less authentic your Mexican cuisine becomes. So that when you get to Canada, it's just it's basically poutine and fries where they've sprinkled some cilantro on top.
They do make some effort to crush some Doritos into it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
How does that make it better?
I'm just saying, like, I'm not the one making it, okay?
I thought you were the patriarchy.
I keep trying, and nobody votes for me in the annual election, so.
It happens.
And
You got
Canada,
Trudeau up there. I'm sure he's going to save the world.
oh yeah, we're waiting on it.
Prime Minister of Tumblr.
To be fair,
Canada-
he did pick a combat veteran to be the Minister of Defense, or the caucus member in charge of defense.
Canada has officially elected the Canadian version of Jonathan McIntosh.
Yeah, except Trudeau's actually, well, more attractive. I don't know that he's attractive, but he's more attractive.
Yeah, he is a good-looking dude.
We might be poor judges of that, to be totally honest with you. Because there's a lot of straight men in here. Rebel, what do you think?
Rebel. Is Trudeau cute? Rebel.
she's not answering.
She's busy going like.
Yeah, her mic is messing up.
She's probably thinking something along the lines of, why would I want to date an emotional drama teacher?
He has lots of power.
Is that working?
Yay!
Yay! No, I mean,
No, we don't.
he's really tan. A little scarily tan.
But not orange in the way you expect from New Jersey.
No, he just... And it's really funny you bring up the acting class thing, because he really does actually look like an acting teacher of mine.
Really?
Yeah, he kind of does, and it's a little creepy.
So,
Kind of got this Mr. Potato Head jaw thing going on. It's weird.
No. Kevin Logan is the only true Mr. Potato Head.
Seconded.
Okay, maybe I'm missing something, but what's with the potato head and Logan? I'm curious. How did that come about? I forget.
the pockmarks remind everybody of
he looks like a potato.
The eyes of a potato.
Yeah, it's something Sargon said, and it kind of caught on.
Yeah.
His head is in the shape of a potato. I don't know how more complicated you need it to be.
Yeah.
Well, serious.
Yeah, it's just that it's not more complicated than that. That's it.
Maybe you guys disagree, but if I were Kevin Logan, I would totally go full metal. I would grow a huge beard and long hair, and then that would end any discussion about his looks.
Oh.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that we've already got a Felfop, and Felfop's smarter.
Yeah, he could be the
I think
on the other
Kevin's
side.
Kevin's a security guard as well, so he might not be able to do that.
He's got pretty bushy hair too. I don't know how it would look if he grew it long. It might be a bit of an afro.
Kevin Fro.
Oh man.
Wait. Has someone else remarkably done his last
Dane,
name?
Photoshop that now. Go Photoshop Kev with an afro.
English?
Maybe it's just my age, but when you said his name was Kevin Logan, I thought, wait, did he miss the renewal and not explode?
Apparently, Spino has completely lost the plot.
It's just like, well, he's gone.
Sorry. I'll mute myself.
Like that scene at the end of Brazil. Yep, I think we lost him.
Breathe, dude, breathe.
It's okay. Breathe.
He muted.
Breathe and think of Nordic women.
No, think of Lauren Southerns.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with the Nordic women. We're joined by positive. Positive's already here. New Day, who is once again the space vagina.
Yep.
Right.
I'm trying to fix it, I swear to God.
It's okay, you like the space vagina. It gives me
That's how
sexy
you're going to be
thoughts.
known from now on. You'll never live this down. You'll be Space Vagina forever and ever.
Oh,
Oh, and
God.
nice to meet you, Bane. Nice to finally meet you.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
So do we have like topics for discussion, or?
Oh, yeah.
I think most of them are just going to laugh at Spino.
Kevin's hypothetical afro is still fucking hilarious. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of break from our. I wanted to break from our usual discussions just for the sake of giggles. And oh, hey, Scratch Point's here. Hello, Scratch Point.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello, Scratch. Long time no see.
So this morning I wanted to do something a little different than usual, since when I was searching for a subtext or bonus title for Sunday Funday, the Tesseract is basically as the square is to, or the cube is to the square, the Tesseract is to the cube. So it's an extra dimensional construct with 24 sides and all that crap. So so for those of you who are old enough to remember, there are some old sci-fi novels that when this thing came out, that thought experiment that is the Tesseract came out, it popped up in a few old science fiction novels, and I was thinking, that old sci-fi stuff might be fun to talk about, something completely different from our usual. Although, knowing us, we'll somehow drift into that stuff. So I was curious if anyone had anything fun from their childhood about sci-fi novels they read and how they may have influenced their thought processes, that kind of thing.
I'm rereading Grunts by Mary Gentle. It's fucking awesome. It's not technically sci-fi though. I guess it is, because I mean it's about orcs in a swords and sorcery world, and one of the dragons, of course, has a horde. But it turns out that the horde is full of military weapons from our own 80s and 90s, and they're cursed to turn the people that handle them into they start thinking the way that those people do. So there's a bunch of weapons that were taken from a marine armory, and the orcs turn into marines. And it's all of the hysterical stereotypes from in the army now, basically. There's also several that turn into, like, there's one that turns into like a Russian commissar and is running around demanding people be, operate politically and militarily at the same time.
That's really, really strange.
Oh, but it's funny as hell, because there's misogyny between the leader of the orcs and a halfling whore. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to take your word for that.
Yeah,
the way I describe it is that's something else.
Yeah, that's very
it's
very
quite
strange.
an amusing book. It's not nearly as funny as the stuff by David Eddings and his wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're all pathetic. You haven't
Well,
read any of these things.
Well, back to kind of the reference that I was making with the Tesseract was a book by Madeline Angle, called Wrinkle in Time.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So has anyone else read that besides me?
I read it a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm back in high school.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. A lot of this stuff is so far back.
There's a really cheesy movie version of it on Netflix right now.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me.
Yeah, but the special effects are really awful. I didn't watch the whole thing. I probably watched about half of it, and I was like, okay.
And see, I thought you were going to bring up Flatland.
No, but that's a good place to launch off, because it's kind of what I was kind of sort of referencing in was the way that a lot of somewhat advanced scientific topics get introduced to children through science fiction. Mm-hmm. Although obviously sometimes science fiction is basically just science fantasy. But go ahead, tell us about. For those who don't know, tell us about Flatland.
I was introduced to it in middle school. When we first started doing, basic geometry, higher level geometry and that sort of thing, and we were kind of introduced to this idea of these shapes having different social constructs attached to them. It was really weird. So you have the square, who's the main character. He's just a square, and he goes to another shape of physical dimension, and meets Sphere, and they kind of fall in love and whatever. And so in Flatland, everything is geometric. If you're a square, you're just a square. You're just on one plane. You can only see ahead of you. That's it. You can only see lines and points. And he has to go into the three-dimensional realm to be able to actually meet these other people, who are three-dimensional. These other three-dimensional shapes. It's a very strange little book.
And this is the sort of stuff that we used to feed the children, and now, I don't know. It doesn't seem like. A couple of observations about these old books that just kind of occur to me. Does it seem like I don't know the Harry Potter books? And I don't mean to bag on them. On the contrary, I thought they were tons of fun, and introduced emotional concepts to kids in a way that were interesting. But I don't do. Science fiction as the actual science-y science fiction isn't as popular as it used to be. That seems like a shame to me, but then again, we have much more access to just the basics of science through the internet now than we used to.
Yeah, and I'd go so far as to say we've kind of moved away from popular sci-fi to popular fantasy. I don't know, the fantasy realm has gotten obvious. I mean, just for obvious reasons, it's very, George R.R. Martin. This very ancientness mixed in with mythological themes and that sort of thing. It's gotten more. I don't know why that's more popular.
Well, I think because of part of what the thing in the Toy Story was basically the cowboy toys being replaced by the space toys. And now I think to some extent that the science fiction stuff that we might otherwise see, because I remember in the 70s and 80s a lot of kids shows on TV had sci-fi elements. Of course, we blamed partly by Star Wars, but I think superheroes kind of take a bit of that now, because the superheroes are an interesting bridge between sci-fi and fantasy. In the case of the Avengers, literally, because you have Thor and then you have Iron Man, on the same team. Although they explain Thor as science as you don't understand it. So it's magic, but it's science as you don't understand it. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? Hey, Eclectic, you snuck in.
I just want to point out that somebody already disliked the stream, which I guess somebody better quickly bash social justice or something.
Hang on. Scratch. Give us your. You're all fucking idiots because you're all arguing the same points from opposite sides. Because that's always funny.
Well, actually, I think we can actually go into that in the same subject. And do we
is that literally funny or
no?
Not?
No, I find it amusing because of the amount of teeth action that occurs on the other, to whoever you say it to. There seems to be a great deal of pounding on desks and such. And I just sit back and I'm like, I should have popcorn. It's kind of interesting.
It is kind of fun, interesting how people get very mad. I mean, I understand because they probably feel that they're under attack, but it's a specific type of person that's being referred to, and I feel like they tend to forget that, and they're just like, well, I consider myself anti-SJW, and so you're bashing me, and it's not necessarily like that.
Well, it's just that nobody seems to understand that there is the possibility of actually debating things without personal investment. Like, you can simply debate them for the sake of debate.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, yes, there is some validity to specifically debating things that are, like, debating the way that certain groups try to stifle free speech. I mean, yes, there's a validity to arguing that and pointing out that there is some investment for everyone, but you don't have to be personally invested. You can be invested on behalf of others.
So there is some evidence that some people aren't able really to keep themselves separate from what they're arguing. Like, they have to emotionally invest in what they're talking about, or it's a lot harder for them to not emotionally invest.
You know what? I'm going to say I'm probably guilty of that on my own. So, I mean, I do understand that. It's just that it gets to a point where people are trying to identify so much by the label that they're kind of forgetting their sense of individuality.
That's something I tend to notice is that, and honestly, I notice it more with feminists, but maybe that's because I haven't had to argue with as many of the non-feminists or what have you, is that there are people nowadays who don't seem to be able to separate their own sense of internalized identity from an exterior label. That label is part of their constructed identity. They have to have it, or they have no idea what the fuck to do.
Right, and that may not necessarily be about which side you lobby for, and more about the fact that it's a person that is looking for a certain something to fill some other void in their life.
Yeah, they're looking for a sense of community or something like that. I mean,
right. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, we all kind of would like to have somebody that we can relate to and agree with on something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whether you're part of the local soccer club or whatever, I mean, although there does tend to, maybe it's just the tendency of people to automatically assume, based on ancestral, tribal, dynamics, that if you're either with me or against me, and I must invest and defend, and I've got to dig my feet in.
Well, I guess my only problem with that is it gets to the point where you think just because somebody takes on a particular label that it's somebody you disagree with on a whole, when it's not that simple. There's a lot more nuance to it. It's not all that black and white where it's like, okay, just because you're a...
Oh my god, that's brilliant, Bane. That is amazing.
I guess I missed something.
Apparently so.
What happened?
I'm screen sharing.
All right.
All right, let's have a look.
Oh, jeez.
Everyone take a picture. Everyone take a picture right now. Screenshot. I have it. Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
Wait, who's that? Like 70s artist who paints all the trees in
Bob Ross.
It looks like him.
Bob Ross, yeah.
It looks like a fat version of Bob Ross.
Just when you're starting to have a serious conversation.
It's fine.
He sent me the photo.
I kind of lost track with where I was going with that, to be
Group mentality, herd thinking, labels. I think you were touching on the idea that if someone, for example, identifies as a feminist, you assume that they're
right,
that you automatically everything.
Right, and that's what I was saying. It's a little bit more complex than that, and people seem to be forgetting, in general, that even though we may take on some labels, at our root we're still individuals and have varying opinions on different topics. So you may still be able to find a common ground even if you come from a different side of things.
Mm-hmm. And you see that in this group a lot when we stray into politics, because you'll find almost none of us agree on on a lot of issues, which I think is great personally. I can't stand echo chambers. When I start to get into a situation where it starts to feel too much like an echo chamber, I start to get uncomfortable.
That's one of the things that's kind of fun about this group is we've had some pretty I don't want to call them angry, but heated arguments about policy and where we stand, particularly when we talk about politicians. And yeah, and we still come away at the end of it going, "Oh, that was fun," because we can be grown up.
Well, I mean, I think it's okay to get mad and admit that, okay, I was pissed off, but it doesn't mean you automatically have to hate each other afterwards. I mean, that feeling does fade. You do remember, okay, these are people that I've laughed with and enjoyed things with, so it's all right.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of people.
Appreciated the shit out of
But like,
Logan
for people outside of the B list and maybe like on Twitter or whatnot, has anybody else kind of found that like people who can't comprehend debating something you don't have a stake in, when they meet someone who can do that they see them as sort of tourists and that they don't have like a right to speak on the topic? Because I've kind of encountered that a little bit, and I was wondering if anybody had thoughts on it.
Yeah, I've seen that, and also that there is also the argument of that people will use to shut down a discussion about an issue by going, well, you're not a man, so you can't have an opinion on abortion, for instance. That's a very common one. Or, well, no, let's just go with that one because that's the most common version.
It's a sort of like a stay in your lane mentality kind of thing.
That's where you get the whole Republican war on women. Like, it's so contrived just to shut people up. Like, saying that I don't want to debate this.
One of the ones that I saw yesterday actually was Kathy Young mentioned that while a certain amount of anecdotal or personal experience in something is fine, using that as the sole basis for a position, not typically nobody accepts that as a position to debate from. And I made the comment that, I don't use that as the crux or the fundamental beginning of an argument about domestic violence, but having been in abusive relationships, I really hate being told that I can't possibly understand them because I've been the victim of abusive relationships. And it's very much a thought-terminating cliche. It's like, oh, well, you're a guy. Guys don't get abused. Well, your own statistics don't show that if you're using the most commonly touted statistics.
Yeah, one thing that I think of whenever I get like, you're not black, you can't understand, you're not a woman, you can't understand, is you realize that there's this thing called empathy, where you can put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand it, like based upon your own intelligence and own experience through life. You can kind of begin to understand at least the tip of the iceberg of something, right? You understand that empathy does exist.
Part of me actually has a feeling that a lot of the people who get into this, who get into that kind of mindset, are actually people who don't necessarily have empathy or at least as good a sense of empathy.
That's sort of a depressing thought now that I think about it like that. You're probably right, and it's kind of terrifying and sad at the same time.
Well, almost like well, maybe even that they don't, that they do have a sense of empathy, but it's almost like shut down by the ideology.
Or just shifted purely to their focus group.
Well, yeah, shifted towards their focus group, because you can see it with like the social justice community, where they've kind of like almost split into two groups now. Because I know Captain Andy and Zenistrad and that they are not friends with Jenny McDermott and Google Ape and stuff now. So
I think it's important to note that empathy takes effort. Like, you have to choose to try and put yourself in someone's shoes, and it's sometimes quite difficult, actually.
I was going to say, to agree with positive, I was going to say that empathy, there's a certain amount of empathy that we get just as human beings, but basically the further someone is removed from what we are like, the more it's a skill. You kind of have to...
Yeah, it does have to be taught to an extent.
And you have to actually understand what they think and why they think it before you can really understand why they're doing what they're doing, why they believe what they believe. and what happens to them in their daily life. Like if you don't understand their basic beliefs and assumptions, then you're never really going to understand the other person.
Yeah, and I agree with most of what you guys said. Well, actually, all of what you guys said. It just seems like feminists and social justice warriors don't seem to be interested in giving it the extra push. Like they're lazy in this aspect.
Well, it becomes to some extent in an ideological battle, and of course most people who are really wedded to their ideology believe they are in a battle of some sort. It becomes a disadvantage to empathize with your opponents too much. In the same way that, and I'm going to preface this with a saying that, particularly for anyone who's been in the military, this is not a dig, but to a certain extent, when you have a job that's blowing stuff up and killing people in a war, you have to de-empathize with the enemy a little bit so you can do your job, and that's understandable. But people can detach their empathy when they need to. I mean, because sometimes we can't empathize. I can't empathize with the chicken too much because I've just had it for dinner. Okay. Again, these are things that we have to do. So we're able to de-empathize with something, and I think when we get into this ideological argument, we can de-empathize with the enemy.
Red, some people think of this as a war, though. Like, some people literally think of feminism versus non-feminism, or feminism versus men's rights as an actual war. Like if you look up Raging Golden Eagle, this is someone who actually believes that he's involved in a culture war and thinks that war-based thinking is an appropriate way to think of it.
Fiddlebogen, very much that case.
Yeah, Fiddlebogen's he's an interesting character. I have actually spoken with him, and he seems all right, but he's very focused on just, I'm not a feminist, I'm not a feminist, I'm not a feminist, I'm not a feminist, and it's just
no consideration given to anything after what happens if feminism becomes just a personal ideology. It's no longer a political thing.
Yeah. I think there's another layer to this too. I assume everyone's familiar with Munchausen syndrome.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that plays a large part in a lot of the ideology, especially what we see on Tumblr, where it's instead of someone faking an illness to get attention, they're basically using their ideology and supposed victimhood to get attention. And anyone in an out group who isn't part of their in-group is obviously a threat to that. No one else is allowed.
I also think
well, that's kind of like the Sololinsky rule for radicals, everyone's a victim, and everybody has to be divided into groups and then pitted against each other.
Yeah, I do think, to an extent, even people on our side have had to sort of maybe at least suspend their empathy for a very short while, just until certain facts come out and we actually know what's going on, because a lot of social justice ideology does tend to play on people's goodwill. It does it tries to gain knee-jerk reactions from people to pretty much justify really bad actions.
You could be right. I've said in the past that the feminist side, the social justice warrior side, are the masters of pathos, of eliciting a passionate response, while our side has to be the masters of logos and ethos. We have to bring all the evidence, and we have to be ethical. Well, they can just get everything done with passionate responses, so you might be right on that.
Yeah, that's actually quite good. I like that idea.
To play devil's advocate for just a moment, although this bridges into other things, I think any of us can be guilty of arguing to emotion, and we have to be really careful about not doing it, because it's relatively easy to undermine an argument to emotion. So I'm trying to think of an example.
Well, I would say that when you get into the field of economics, there's a lot of argumentation to emotion.
Well, yeah, and politics and public policy, a lot of that also.
Taxation and theft.
Yeah, that gets.
I can give an example here if you want. An example of non-feminists using it. A lot for men's rights. A lot of the argument against circumcision is there are logical reasons, but most of the time, all you have to say is it's mutilating children. And that's an emotional argument, right? It's an effective one. It should be effective, but that is an appeal to emotion.
Yeah. That also brings up an interesting point, positive, that just because something is an appeal to emotion doesn't mean it's wrong. But you need to have something underlying it that's and in the case of, as you mentioned, mutilating children. What the main argument, I think, for at least factual argument is for men's rights activists, in particular in circumcision, is, well, we wouldn't do this to a little girl, so why the fuck are we doing it to a little boy?
But the reason why it's an emotional argument is because it's mutilation, because it is wrong.
Yeah.
If it was just someone's hurt feelings or something on Twitter, then that would be,
it wouldn't be as effective.
We're talking about something which is, a violation and obviously is wrong. So that's where the emotion comes into it. Plus, it's children as well.
Yeah, I think one thing you brought up, it's obviously wrong, but not everyone agrees it's wrong. Some people, you try to talk to them about circumcision, and they just say, "I don't see a problem with that." I don't, so you have to activate their emotional response in order to make them realize what they're actually defending.
Usually because they've been taught that it's non-harmful. But you hear a baby crying during a circumcision, then that kind of gets you out of that mode of thinking. That it's non-harmful.
Here's the
I
thing
can't listen to that. I can't listen to that.
Here's the interesting tie-in with empathy I see with that. If we teach parents that it's fair to ignore the cries of a male child during circumcision or a female child during circumcision, we're eliminating a sense of empathy, especially with the male children, that then becomes socialized as adults. We expect not to have an emotional reaction to any distress from a man at all, ever. And we start that right at during that first few moments when we're saying, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine to take that bit of skin off of it. It's no problem. We're not going to worry about remember."
I could agree with that, but I'm pretty sure the liability for men is sort of a worldwide phenomenon, including places that there isn't as much circumcision.
Oh, it is, but I think that's a contributing factor in areas where it potentially makes it worse in areas where.
Yeah, men don't feel pain or whatever, or something like that.
Yeah, if I show you a man, crying on the side of the road, I can also show you a group of people trying to get away from that man as fast as possible. We kind of, there is no empathy towards men.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't say that.
I can point it out, but still, what's the likelihood that I'm gonna help some random guy on the road that's crying?
Yeah,
well, I would say that it's selective. There is a certain, I think there's a certain instinct where we're uncomfortable with a man in distress, and it's different than women, and some of that is fish brain, some biological problems. But there is a significant component that's social where we just kind of expect men to roll with it, because that's part of what they do, I suppose. Although that's not fairly fair.
And if I may, there's also some people, including myself, who personally I don't like to cry in public. I don't like to reveal my emotions in public. I try and keep them bottled up until I'm in private and can deal with them myself. I might be a minority, but I'm one of the guys who actually prefer it that way. I'm like, people don't need to see what I'm dealing with right now. I will deal with this personally in private. That's sort of my thing.
And nothing wrong with that. That's selecting your own personal time and place to express yourself.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is the better way. I'm just saying a few of us perhaps view dealing with personally, and someone might jump on that, like a social justice warrior might jump on that and say, "See, men like it that way."
Well, I think that it's fair to say that men, very often, are much less likely to express their emotions in a group setting.
Actually, I don't think social justice warriors would say that. I think what they would end up saying is that that's somehow toxic masculinity, and that's somehow men's fault.
Yeah,
probably they turn it against us in an instant if they could.
That might be true, but we also have to remember that there are men out there that will put down other men for showing their emotions and say things like, stop being a pussy.
Oh, yeah.
Scratch.
So
We're all afraid of that.
Yeah, but what I meant by that was it's not men as a class that are doing this.
Right.
Individuals will just bash each other, but you see the same thing from women. Women will it's an in-group, it's a sort of an in-group thing that women will actually bully other women for certain behaviours as well. The majority of slut shaming is done by women.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember growing up in middle school, they had like slam books where like these girls would like write awful things about other girls in these books, and they'd pass it around to all their friends.
Mean girls.
Now you see it on like Facebook bullying and shit like that. It's like.
Well, I mean, and now a really good friend of mine is going through that at work. Like, she's in her entry-level job out of college. She graduated last year, and she's going into that, and she's in a hospital, of all places, in the Midwest. And she's finding that the women that have been there, like, she's a receptionist. It is very entry-level, and she's finding that the women that have been there for a really long time have created this social circle, and it's very hard to penetrate it. And so they're all kind of very like, you're the newbie. We're not letting you in. We don't care if you're the same position we are. We don't care. And they've really dogged her, and she's had to go to her boss about it because they're just, I mean, like literally, she's had shit thrown at her. These people just don't know how to act.
But women can't be violent, right?
Well,
yeah,
I think
she had like staplers thrown at her.
Good lord! Really?
No, men made them do it. Men made them do it somehow.
Yeah, and
somehow
the problem with gendering every issue
whites are
because
somehow responsible for the Mongol invasions. It's always like the white man's fault.
It's bullshit. It's like you add race and gender to everything, and
Like,
you'll see race and gender in everything.
Here's a pamphlet on, John Locke and the social contract. Get them to read it if they can understand it, and then get the fuck out of there.
Well, I think what we've touched on is, well, whether we meant to or not, is that humans, as a rule, although we tend to express it differently between genders and cultures, we can't be dicks to each other in that whole in-group out thing.
Yeah, humans are human. Humans are human, pretty much, and they can be shitty to each other.
It's a hobby for some of us. Wait, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Spinosaurus, so I don't count.
People, weren't you the one in Jurassic Park? Those people were just on a plane, and you just came in and started gobbling them up.
I was hungry.
Then you went for a Tyrannosaurus. How hungry could you be?
The T-Rex attacked me first.
He was hangry. He was hungry and angry.
So what? You just rage ate? You just rage ate that freaking Tyrannosaurus? You had to do something with it. What did you do with it, Spino? What did you do with that corpse?
Yeah. Can I? I'll leave that to off the stream.
Guy doesn't want to get quoted later.
This thing gets quote mined, I'm sure, or could be quote mined awfully.
I want Kev to quote mine me in his next Descent of Manosphere video.
Quote mining the B-list would be fun. Yeah, that might be something we could do for humor value at the end of the podcast. Is just everybody say something awful so we can be quote mined. Oh, come on, they're going to do it to us anyway. We may as well provide them with something.
Make it easy for them.
Sure, why
That'll
not?
be the show ender for the That'll be the show ender for the day.
Hitler did nothing wrong.
Oh, come on, at least do something difficult.
Guy rarely speaks, and that's what he says.
Fire podcast.
Okay, everyone just start typing in the chat like ideas, like your most racist, sexist, bigoted ideas. Just start giving each other ideas. That's my 2 cents.
Let's not encourage me. I've already got enough things I say that are horrible.
Taco.
What's happened?
Oh, in the chat, Taco was like,
yeah.
N-word.
Taco and Pazzo ran with it. They're like,
You stopped yourself short. Why did you?
For some reason,
It's not
Taco's afraid
offensive
of the
if you
word
stop.
nigger. I don't know why.
You tried to be offensive, but you stopped yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Bitch, did you just use the N-word?
Nigga,
I think that would
please.
be a fun. I think that would be a fun segue into another topic. The power, since we were talking about literature earlier, sort of. Then we've also got into identity politics and the power of words. What I find interesting, and this is an observation. I think everybody's probably made at some point, and I have for a long time. Kind of interested in the fact that nigger, for instance, is a good example of a word that has a lot of power to it, but it's I think I could fairly argue that the power of that word to insult and hurt people is primarily in the people themselves to receive it.
It doesn't have
like
that
you cannot really
institution
hurt a white
behind
person's
anymore.
feelings by calling them a cracker. It just isn't going to work.
Yeah, they're
We're
not
not
going to
impressed.
care. It's like.
There's this heavy social stigma. Like I remember.
No. But you can hurt a white person by calling them a racist.
Oh, that's our trigger word.
That again
That's a good
lies
point.
on the person. Who you talk. You can call me a racist, and then I'm gonna be like,
Well, yeah,
no,
Well,
I'm not.
we're kind of immune these days.
Talking
We're
about social
constantly called sexist and racist.
Yeah, we're immune within this community. Fuck's sake, Mark, just I'm
Marky.
using you. Oh, okay. I mean, within this community, we're aware of all the identity politics. We're aware of the insane amount of labeling and all of the social justice stuff. But within, say, the mainstream media and just in general social circles, words like a word like that from a totalitarian hate group can actually do some serious damage.
I personally think it's double plus good. So
I think it's ungood.
Well, Red, to get back to what you said, back when I was a junior in high school, we read Huckleberry Finn, and naturally that word came up.
Yeah.
But I was one of the few that dared to say nigger when it came up, and by the end I felt so oppressed by everyone's air, oppressed being a bad word, that I stopped saying it myself because no one else said it. I was the first person to say it, and I was the second or third to last person to say it. Only 3 people dared ever to say nigger, and I was the first one.
So when you're reading the book out loud, and you're the one that said it.
Yeah, people
I was the only one who
self-censor.
said N-word, and she encouraged it. Our teacher, you guys can say N-word or you can skip over it. I'm like, no, I'm going to say it.
Yeah,
and then he said nigger.
It's a word. You're reading the text as written because that's one of the things I think that book also brings up something very interesting. That if I remember correctly, so anybody here literature buffs can correct me if I'm wrong about this. One of the things that was unique about that book and the other one's written by Mark Twain was that he broke tradition to some extent and wrote dialogue the way people actually spoke it. Because up to that point, most authors would formalize, in other words, make what people said correct English. Did I just say Mark Twain? I thought I said Mark Twain.
You did, but the thing stopped, and I heard Mark Twat. I'm just like,
damn.
Did I hear that right?
Yeah, Mark Twat.
That would be an awesome porn name.
Though, as far as I know,
Excuse me while I change my YouTube channel.
He was one of the first American authors to write in vernacular.
Yeah,
James Joyce was really popular for this as well. And I think he kind of predates Mark Twain a little bit, but
I'm not sure. I think Mark Twain was the first popular. You're right. I don't remember who did too. But the reason why Mark Twat is extra funny, by the way, just as in a slide, Mark Twain is not his real name. It's a pseudonym. It's a measure of
Samuel
depth.
Clemens.
Yeah, Mark Twain it means Mark II, as in two units of depth. So if you have Mark Twat, you have a very deep. No, hit 2 dicks deep. Here, quote mine that, motherfuckers. Anyway, go on.
Betwixt and between.
So yeah, he would
be twatted.
like Joyce would write the way people actually talked. In the case of Mark Twain, he's writing the way people in the South would actually talk, and that's the way in that time they used it. It's almost a time capsule.
I'm sorry, I'm just triggered by the mispronunciation of twat.
Twat.
God, leave it to the English.
Fucking Americans.
All pedantic about
and Canadians.
Twat, not twat.
Hang on.
Just to annoy you now, twat.
I'm going to set him off even worse.
Yeah, Benny did this crap with me the other day.
Aluminum. Aluminum.
Aluminium.
Oh, shot fired.
Spinos.
This is cyber violence.
hey, Spino, what's the back end of a car where you put all the stuff in there? What is it?
It's the boot.
It's a trunk!
It's a boot.
It's a trunk.
And you know what's you know why it's a trunk?
Stop mocking Canadian culture. It's a boot.
A boot is not. Because in early cars, there wasn't a built compartment. They would actually lash a trunk in the back.
Spino, when you walk into a building, what floor are you on? What number floor are you on?
Ground floor.
First floor.
So what number is it?
1.
0.
There you go.
Oh, that's weird.
Everyone else, what floor is it?
First floor.
Exactly.
What?
These British people are wrong.
You what? Wait, what the fuck?
What do you mean?
You didn't know about that, Spino? We call the ground floor the first floor. Everything up, and then second floor is the first one up, and then.
I am fucking triggered. I did not know this.
I think we need to go back to this issue of the boot and what we're
Holy
talking about.
fuck! I need to reevaluate my life.
It's really very weird. Like in New York, every building has an elevator in it, and I've never seen an elevator with a 0 floor. That weirds me out.
Well, it'll say G for ground, but
it will say G.
It might say G.
It'll say G or L or 1 with a little star next to it.
Yeah, but the floor above the ground floor is floor 1, right?
No,
For Spino.
It depends on the building. Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
for everyone else, it's 2.
Yeah, it's G12. That's how it works.
No.
Americans, you ruin everything.
No. How do you count? You tip the first thing and go, well, I've got 5 apples here, but that's G, and then 1, 2, 3.
It's fine. Why does it matter to you? You're a giant dinosaur. Since when could you get in buildings?
Well, he climbs.
I'm pretty sure he's too big for the elevator.
Well, he climbs the outside.
No, he takes the stairs.
I actually do. Even before. No, we did have we don't have a lift in this new block that I've got into, but before I moved in the old flat I was in, there was a lift, but I would prefer to go up the stairs because I'm not lazy.
A lift.
No, I think I understand why Spino's so triggered. Because if he doesn't know which floor his food is on, he can't get it. So if it's like ground floor, first floor, second floor, he knows where it is. But if it's first floor,
I'm really
floor,
curious.
he doesn't know.
As an Anglophile who wants to know more about British culture, what do you call the things that you put on your feet in the wintertime?
Slippers?
Like when you go outside? When you go hiking?
Boots. He means boots.
Shoes or boots. Yeah. I guess.
She's looking for you to use the word rubber.
Oh.
Wellies.
Oh, wellies. Oh, yeah.
Wait, aren't those rain boots?
Those are more for rain.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mark, what would you call a remote control?
RC?
Like the clicker.
Oh, that's the remote.
Oh, well, my brother's wife, who's Canadian, one time she comes out to me, she's like, "Oh, can you give me the converter?" I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, so what middle?
The converter. I'm like, okay.
What part of what antique part of the East Coast is she from?
I've heard converter before.
I've heard Zappa.
She's from Canada.
The part, like
Yeah, Canada's a pretty big place.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but there's hardly anybody in it.
Yeah, that's like saying I'm from America, but I'm also from the South, but I'm also from a city in the South, so it's not like being from the sticks in the South.
Yeah,
Of course I know
Tampa.
Tom from Canada.
Everyone who's not Canadian, anyone who's not American is an Arab.
America.
This just reminds me of all the countries people have thought I was from. For some reason, like people think I have an accent, like, or they say I have an accent, and I've been asked if I'm Swedish, Swiss, and Canadian by 3 different people. Everyone thinks I am not American.
You have something odd about your speech that I can't place. So yeah, I can kind of understand that.
Yeah.
If you had told me that you were born abroad but grew up here in the United States, I would totally believe that. Because there's something slightly odd about the way you talk.
I can hear
Does
it.
Kansas count?
My voice teacher would call that an emphatic diphthong on your E's, is what we would call that typically.
What about
there is like a little, there's a little bit of a tinge to something, and it's. I honestly thought you were.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with the mental image of him wearing a diphthong.
Me wearing a what?
As long as it's a nacho dip.
What the fuck is that?
What did I miss? I missed something on that explanation. And
Nacho diphthongs.
And it's
diphthong.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I'm so confused. Did someone suggest
Rebel? Okay. Rebel, explain for us if you would.
Explain for us unwashed masses.
Oh, well, so when I grew up taking voice lessons because I'm a singer, and what we would refer the thing you're hearing, in that he said he couldn't identify it, is an audio diphthong on a certain vowels or consonants, and he has one on his E's. Like I can hear it too.
Okay, so explain to us what a diphthong is.
It's like an accent or like a emphasis on a certain vowel sound that naturally occurs in some in different dialects.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, what he's saying, New Day, is you have a dangling diphthong on your E's. All I had to do was say the word dangling, and everyone laughed. Fantastic. I love diphthong.
I was just making a terrible joke about you wearing a very small set of underwear.
Oh, hey! And Eclectic provided us with a definition. It says a diphthong, which it comes apparently from Greek for literally 2 sounds or 2 tones, is also known as a gliding vowel. Refers to 2 adjacent vowel sounds occurring within the same syllable.
All right, everyone now has to test out Greek for me so I can hear your E's and compare.
Greek?
What?
Greek.
I don't.
That's an E. We have an E sound.
I don't know enough about Greek to do anything except for the.
But just say the word Greek. I need to hear.
Say the word Greek.
Greek.
Now we sound like a cult, but let's see. Greek.
Mm.
Yeah, you kind of go into an IH sort of.
Greek.
I'm gonna start saying weird shit too much.
That will be our greeting to everyone.
This is officially the weirdest.
Conversation just
This is the
delved.
weirdest thing.
Yeah, this conversation has just delved into the specific pronunciations of New Day's.
It's very pedantic, that's for sure.
I feel so special.
This is what Sargon would call pedantic e-drama.
You have to understand, that's what Funday is about. We start one place.
Yeah,
You're all focused on the space vagina. So
yeah, no, I have to thank Sargon because he liked my last video and I've got 10k views on it now.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Woohoo! Underwhelming woohoo.
Alright, let's pull back from my E's and let's continue. I think we've gone a very interesting tangent, but I think we need to pull back.
Pull
Well,
out.
we were talking about language and the power of words.
Pull out.
Pull out before we go up.
Attractive pull-out culture.
That could be someone's ending statement for the quote mining. Add a little bit and you have a perfect quote mine.
This can get ugly fast.
That is what she said. Add a little bit.
Emma Sokolowicz.
By the way, Bane, I gotta ask, what
Stilovich.
did you, Bane? What did you do to get Sargon to join our Skype group? How the hell did you do that?
Oh, he's been after me to have a hangout with him for ages. So.
And I just want to rub it in. We got him first.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got him. We've still got him first. We've still had Bane like multiple times before Sargon. I still got that.
Wait, that sounds really bad when you say it that way.
Like, there's a quote mine right there.
Yeah, go on.
I wanted to be clear.
I was drunk at the time, so.
I've had sex with Bane on multiple occasions.
I was just there
want to put that out
I
there.
want to be clear. Bane
God.
did Spino and I before anybody else did when Bane finally did a podcast of his own.
Yep, there's a week.
We'll enjoy the sloppy seconds, okay?
That's right. Anybody else who gets to do the podcast, it's sloppy seconds now.
I can. Yeah. So, fuck yes. I still actually have that tweet from Sargon. I still have the screen cap of it.
You're a
Son
strange,
of a
strange dinosaur.
I archive and screen cap everything. That's not weird. It's
It's a little weird.
It's weird.
It's a little weird.
It's a little odd, yeah.
I
It's
love
weird.
this
It's
normal.
sunset.
It's normal. It's totally not
Just keep
filtered.
telling
There's
yourself.
nothing normal about what happens in the B list.
It's totally not stalkerish to screen cap everything.
It's a cultural tradition of Spinosauruses. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Stop
It-
mocking his culture.
Yeah, it's Spinosaurus-ist.
I don't know if all dinosaurs are this obsessive compulsive, but
What are you going to do
Dinosaurs
if you see
apparently
it? What happens if you experience a warm southern wind?
what?
Nothing. Nothing.
I'm not
Lawrence
even gonna.
Southern what?
I refuse to even
To
dignify
dignify
that
that.
with a response.
Oh, seriousness, I do hope it works out for you two guys. But I do want to see the kids. What happened?
It's a new topic.
I know.
Half hedgehog, half Spinosaurus. That's going to be frightening.
Oh god.
If it comes out half hedgehog, I think there's a serious misdirection there.
I'm sure if she ever hears this, she's really gonna appreciate it.
She's gonna get to see humorous.
She doesn't have time.
Thank God.
I think.
I will send this to her and make her have time. Just this clip.
No.
It's like, Lauren, you really need to see this.
We could all just at the same time.
Everyone flutter. I'm seriously considering it. I'm sorry, Spino, but I'm seriously considering it.
We're terrible friends. The best kind.
No, we're wonderful
Who
friends. We're
needs
trying to
fucking
get time
enemies?
together. That's exactly what we're supposed to do.
Who needs enemies?
Well, no, the word is who needs enemas with all these shitlords.
Who needs enemies when you have a space vagina?
Exactly. We know where the Star Child is coming out of. Right there. Right there. Star Child is coming right out of that. Okay, so let's move on to or try to move on to our final topic. Kind of bridging the two original topics a little bit and talking about how I'd like to talk about how movies, sci-fi movies in particular, media, introduce new concepts to language and, well, people, and particularly kids. And because basically, to some extent, sci-fi movies in general are aimed largely at children, although broad audiences watch them, and there's some stuff for everyone.
Well, I've got
The
two
weirdest thing I
examples
have
that come to
encountered
mind,
about that
actually.
recently was
I've got two examples that come to mind. The first interracial kiss on TV was, and her name fell out of my head, the woman who played Uhura.
Yep.
And
Uhura.
yeah, and also the concept of faster than light travel had never had a name other than faster than light travel. It's now called warp travel because of Star Trek.
Yes.
Also, Star Trek had the first lesbian kiss.
It did?
Yep, Deep Space Nine.
Huh.
Interesting that you know that.
That was
Go ahead.
one of the shittier of the series.
Hey! No one makes fun of Deep Space Nine while I'm here.
No.
I feel like I just made fun of it.
We got to respect.
Excuse me, I'm busy here. I'm trying to watch a lesbian kiss.
Stop tapping. We have to respect Deep Space Nine a little bit because at least it was
And let's not
compared to what
forget.
came after.
Let's not forget. Star Trek: Next Generation. The first series had men in skirts in the background.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
It's a horrible idea.
Yeah, it didn't last
some
very long.
weird stuff in that one.
And also the meme of the red shirt being the disposable.
Yeah.
Well, if you want another example of influence of sci-fi in real life, I remember watching a TV documentary a long time ago, and the guy who came up with the first media player said he got the idea from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like he saw Data, like just calling for music to play and a bunch of different songs playing at the same time, and he's like, you know what, I could program that, and then he did for like one of the first Macs.
Yeah, and and also I think to a certain extent, for instance, again talking about Uhura, the cultural influence of that show, as I recall, there's a really neat story that she's told more than once, but she had considered quitting the show and got talked out of it. If I remember the story correctly, she got talked out of it by MLK, who said, "No, you don't understand. They have a
Oh yeah, I heard this
black
story.
person on TV doing a technical job. We don't have that anywhere else. Please keep doing it." Now, anybody correct me if I'm getting that story wrong. Yeah.
I don't recall hearing it, but
that's
that's reasonable.
Well, and a lot of focus on that is about her, but there was also, I mean, if you think about it, given the time that it was airing, they also had a Russian dude. Given the era that show was airing, that was a big deal. There was a Russian that basically Roddenberry was saying that the Cold War would end in peace and cultural exchange.
Yeah,
in his own way, which is kind of correct. Huh? The Japanese guy as well. Yeah, so you had a pretty. I mean, we still had a white guy in charge, but I mean, let's face it, and it was Kirk. I mean, for God's sakes, fucking Kirk, man.
I'm just thinking, whichever movie they did the time travel in, and Chekhov walking around San Francisco asking people about things. Where is the Enterprise? I need to see the Enterprise, the vessel.
The nuclear vessels.
Yeah. They're all saying, no. And George Takei has come out as quite the excellent comedian since his time on Star Trek.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, did anyone else cry when Spock died?
Yeah.
I was in tears.
A little bit, yeah. I'm trying to think of some other. Because that Star Trek wasn't the only show that had some effect, show or movie that had some effect like that. But honestly, it was one of those that took the space travel stuff fairly seriously. But didn't anybody remember? Oh God, there were some god awful ones like Time Tunnel, and anyone else remember Land of the Lost?
Not Land of the Lost. I was thinking of either Sliders or
Land of the Lost, the kid show with the Croft brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been the only really good
the original
show.
The original one from the 70s.
Yes.
Yeah. Incredibly bad kid show.
We were watching reruns of it, yeah.
Is Land of the Lost the one that had the robot?
I loved it as a kid, though. I thought it was great.
Well, it did have some pretty good episodes, and there were a few episodes that were written by fairly famous science fiction authors who also wrote a few episodes for Star Trek as well. Basically, they would get a sci-fi author to come on and do some shows, and some of the better episodes of both were written by otherwise published authors. Trying to think of a good example, but in The Land of the Lost, there was an episode where they realize that what they're in is a closed-loop universe because they get on the highest point they can find, and they get a telescope and they can see themselves in the distance, and they realize that the place that they're in is a very small enclosed universe, and that whole concept kind of blew my mind. That there was a way you could have the whole concept of a pocket dimension was new to me, at least. And ironically, that one gets invented in about 200 years from now. But oh wait, did I say that out loud? Never mind. So, sir, did I just hit a dry topic there? Does no one else have any flashbacks from?
Sorry, I'm still waiting on the list.
No, I'm just like too young, so like all
That's
this
a good
stuff
point.
is
I'm old enough, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Croft brothers did Sigmund the Sea Monster, and what was the one with Witchy Poo? What was that?
Oh my
Sigmund
God.
the Sea
Monster? Shit. I know the show.
HR Puff and stuff.
Yeah, HR Puff and stuff. Oh,
Yeah, all that acid
curious
stuff.
thing. Did you know?
Acid trip shit.
I don't know if this was a joke or something, but my maintenance girl was showing me a trailer for Electra Woman and Dyna Girl as a show.
There you go,
Really
Spino.
old
There's a
Marty
girl you
Krofft
can
show.
date.
Huh?
Dino Girl? Spino, get on
No,
this.
Dinah, as in Electra.
I was trying to find him a girlfriend. You ruined it. Dino Girl, this sounds perfect.
But yeah, the Sid and Marty Krofft were kind of the Hanna-Barbera of live kids TV, and they would just throw ideas out there to see what would stick. I mean, they had a show with a talking dune buggy. I kid you not. And it would even transform from a beat-up junker to a really shiny version for superhero moments. Oh yeah, seriously. There's also the what was it?
Don't forget He-Man, where you've got the vaguely effeminate individual who suddenly turns into just a muscle Hulk.
Oh, man, all the things about He-Man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the places we could go.
Just strange show.
Well, kids shows got kind of weird in a couple of places, though. I don't want to even talk about Thundercats. One adult woman and a bunch of dudes. That's either very awkward or very naughty.
Or very awesome.
I think Positive has something.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Positive. What you got?
Well, no, if we're looking for a new topic, because I know at least half the people here don't know anything about sci-fi.
Yep.
Okay, so a topic that we all know about, doxing, and whether it's ever okay or justifiable. And in what cases is it? Because specifically, I don't know if people under 8 recently got doxed, right?
It's definitely okay. End of topic.
The only concept that I can kind of imagine as within the realm of doxing that might be okay is it's not like social justice type, it's more like in the presence of a criminal, like revealing someone to be a sexual offender from the sexual offenders list. But even then, given our past discussions, I'm kind of iffy on that because of Red Robot. You talked about like a friend who got put on that list for a complete misunderstanding, right? So even then, I'm kind of iffy.
How about here's a situation in which this could possibly exist. Okay, so say someone's going around under under a certain name, and they're around the I don't know, they've got a pseudonym, but they've got like loads and loads and loads of different pseudonyms, but they're all tied to that they somehow managed to tie it to the same name. And they're doing they're doxing other people, and the only way to really to really warn people of this person, because they have their online persona, is to dox them.
Yeah, so doxing to prevent harm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The way I see it is it's just aggression towards people.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily think doxing is ever a good thing. I do sort of value anonymity on the internet.
My question is do you consider it to be doxing, like the first example outlined, where you're concerned for the safety of children, where you hopefully report it to authorities that will investigate fully and completely, and then make an assessment based on actual evidence or not? I mean, because if the police just go, oh, well, you think that person's a child molester, let's go arrest them, that's not due process.
Oh, of course. Then you got the court of public opinion and all that stuff. But then it's characters like Bewildered Ape that really push the boundary of is this right? He creates a very big moral grey area, to be honest.
What has he been doing? I don't
Well,
know.
everything. The thing with Bewildered Ape is that he's pretty much this whole shit with Laughing Witch and Jenny McDermott and JJ Talks and all of the like shit within the social justice community. He has been there behind the scenes, stoking the flames every single time, ever since he showed up. And
Yeah,
so far.
So that's sort of my point. The Bewildered Ape, I think there's a lot of evidence that he's probably a pretty shitty person. But I'm also seeing like just today I was seeing on Twitter like people sharing his real name just openly, and acting like his real name is out there. He's doxed.
I knew there was a thread of it coming out, but I didn't realise it was already out.
Baphomet doxed him. It's out there. And the thing that I saw that really got me is Thunderfoot retweeting it, which like. I don't know how that's okay in any sense.
No.
Okay,
Look,
here's the thing.
I've got no love for Bewildered Ape, but I think doxing is wrong. Although
it's a malevolent thing to do. I think we can agree to that. It's malevolent.
Yeah, I'd prefer it if no one did it and people just attacked ideas or criticised ideas as opposed to going for people's personal lives. But if it's going to happen, if it's going to happen to anyone, then I guess Bewildered Ape.
I really think the problem lies with at the moment there's really not there's not much other recourse that people on effectively on our side have. There's no unlike sort of the social justice side, they have the they pretty much control the establishment. They are they're the ones in control of the victim services. They have stranglehold over the media, academia. They can pretty much and they have a better public opinion as well.
They can't be ruined by being revealed. Well, we can be instantly ruined. Like if I'm told, like if my school finds out I'm a men's rights activist, they're going to be less inclined to be like.
You so much as call someone an MRA or a men's rights activist, their reputation might be destroyed. They might just lose everything. However, however, what happens is, but then with feminists, you can say, this feminist here, she laughed at human rights issues, and
still has her position.
Yeah, and not only does she have her position, but she still has a cult-like following defending her. Yeah.
Oh, you mean Jess Phillips?
Yeah, Jess Phillips in this case. In this sort of situation, we have to remember that A, we're not on the same level, and B, we don't have the recourse that they do. We don't have. If we're attacked, sometimes the only way to really fight back is to do exactly what they do to us.
My only problem
with
that is
it's not nice. I don't like it. But and I really wish there was another way. And if you guys have any other ideas, I'm willing to just drop that. But the more I hear about this, the more when because Paul Leland did a video about it, and the more it just keeps ringing back in my head. It's what can we do?
Personally, I would like it to be just a situation where we criticise each other's ideas and there's no personal attacks. But
of course, but then there's one side that's guaranteed
there are
to be
some people.
Spino, let him finish. Spino.
Considering that there are some people who do cross the line on the other side, I can understand some people on our side responding. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think it's a good thing, and I'd prefer moderates on both sides to basically police their own, but that doesn't seem to happen.
It always gets into a slippery slope when you start using the same tactics and you become
I know. But
I agree.
If nothing stops them, then what's the other?
My concern
I don't know. It's difficult.
Let's have a different slippery slope in which men's rights activism is recognized as being an equal and complementary, paradigm to feminism or women's rights. At what point do we convince people to stop behaving in this manner in the future when it's been proven to work?
Yeah, that's true.
I would still prefer moderates on both sides to police.
Yeah, no, it's just
the
do we have to sacrifice some collateral damage in the process then? That guy is that guy who doesn't have the who isn't Thunderfoot, who doesn't have that 400,000 subscriber base, who doesn't have a secure, stable job that he's not going to get fired from. When some social justice warriors write letters to their employers, and Twitter hate mobs attack their employment, do we just have to let that guy fall because we know that if we start using their tactics, it's gonna devolve into just shit on both sides?
Yeah, well, I don't see how you can possibly have anyone condoning any kind of doxing without basically saying, yeah, dox our side too. You know, if you don't like something one of ours does, then you can dox us. Like, I don't know how you can take a stance where it's like, okay, well, it's okay to dox this person because we have no other recourse, but no, you can't dox us.
That's exactly for you. That's feminist hypocrisy.
That's exactly what Kevin Logan did earlier in his video.
And my other
video,
wrong for doing
5 hours ago or something, and he basically said that doxing bewildered ape could be harmful because it could hurt his employment or something along those lines.
Oh yeah.
You could also just stoke a new flame.
Here's my other problem with this entire concept is that we know that people that were involved in the Ashley Madison information release, like there were people who committed suicide. That's not collateral damage.
Yeah.
That is killing people.
Well,
yeah, but what I mean is, the people who are doxed, the people who have already been doxed, what can we do for them?
Support them and try to put them in contact with groups that don't give a shit that they have, an interest in advocating for half of the species.
Yeah, but some people don't really have that.
So basically, not crash override.
Yeah.
Let me draw a parallel here. If you say you've got feelings about the legal system and you're dead set on things need to be done a certain way and they need to be followed, all the I's and T's dotted and crossed, but then you end up in the crosshairs of the legal system, you're liable to squirm and squirm and break all those morals that you have just to keep the next 20 years of your life. These kind of things, it's not exactly the same thing, but a guy who's been doxxed or a guy who feels like this is a danger to him, like in Thunderfoot's situation, I mean, enough's enough, right? It's easy for us to sit on the outside and say, well, yeah, blah, 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 but it's not your boss they're right.
Yeah, you're not
your cops, yeah.
I can sort of, the only people I can sort of understand doxing are people that have been doxed themselves, because then that's almost a form of self-defense.
No, that's what I mean. In the situation, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who has already been doxed themselves.
I always worry
I
when
don't
start
like
using
it.
other people's tools.
No, I don't like it. Which is why personally I haven't been I can't be doxed because I'm completely public. My information I'm not, and I'm never going to dox anyone.
Should we all agree that anyone who doxes someone leaves themselves open to be doxed themselves?
Yes. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
I think, unfortunately, tit for tat is to be expected.
I'm just worried. I'm just worried about the people who are already going to be doxed, because that's inevitable. What recourse do they have, especially on our side? We need to find some way to help these people. We need to find some way to we need to find some way to discourage it on the other side.
Well, ideally, moderates on both sides should join.
Yeah, but they don't. We know that the moderates on that side don't listen. Don't call out the extremists on that side. Or if they do, in the small number of times they do, they don't listen.
Well,
here's
an example here's two examples, two really good examples of what happens, like when there's one side that's really violent and the other side considers it. It's like, look at Martin Luther King and Gandhi. They were both met with extreme violence, yet they were able to hold on to their ideals and their nonviolence, and yet overcome. So that's what I try and go for when we start talking about collateral damage. I'm just like, no, we cannot go there. Because
no,
that
that's what I'm
puts us in the
saying.
same
No,
context as us,
what I'm saying
as
is the
them,
people
actually.
who are being. No, I'm saying the victims in like the riots and stuff. The ones who were the ones on the civil rights side who weren't violent, who were still beaten the shit out of. Those are the people I'm talking about in this situation. That's
You
what
have to help them, but
that's what I meant by
using the same
collateral
tools
damage.
as the other side, as the social justice warriors or just the British Empire, does not make you better than them. It doesn't even. It actually, in a sense, makes you worse because you're using their tools while being hypocritical, saying that these tools are bad. It's like U.S. Invading Iraq. It's like, oh, these people are bad, but we're doing the exact same thing they are, and we're saying that they're bad.
Well, I would point out also that both Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi were killed by violence before they saw what they wanted to be achieved.
Yeah, he's
They
got a
got
point.
partway, but they didn't make it. I mean, it's really unfortunate. I brought this up earlier in a video talking about it with the whole thing with World War II with the bombings. That was a terror tactic. When you switched bombing from oil factories and bearing factories and started bombing cities, that was for terror.
Yeah.
But it won. And yeah, it was bad. It's definitely a blight on history that the Americans and British both share. But we can sit here and muse about it because we're not living under fascist dictatorships that we were fighting. So there's always this tit for tat that you have to think about, in my opinion.
When people bring
Yeah.
up like how the only way to defeat the Nazis was with violence, I point to Denmark, which was actually extremely non-violent despite being under Nazi occupation. They had some sabotage, sure, but a lot of it, like one day the Nazis introduced a curfew, and the response of the Denmark people was to leave work early, saying that they needed to quote-unquote water their gardens because of the curfew. And soon the Nazis had to stop the curfew because they were losing out on all their work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then that works for somebody in that position. But imagine if America and England would have took the same stance.
Yeah,
the one issue I have with that is you're applying wartime logic to something that's not a war. You know what I mean? It's not a war in the same sense. You could say it's a culture war, but a culture war is very different than a political, physical, guns war.
Well, it is different, but some of the ideas of tactics still apply here. You've got you watch the TEDx talk where the guy talks about how when they first got the Twitter hate mob thing first started, and they felt like the little guy finally had a way to basically circumnavigate the whole system and just fucking stick it to the people that they felt deserved it. Taking that power from people who've tasted it is going to be really, really hard to do, and that idea is pretty hard in that social justice camp. A lot of those people have no problem with just saying you should be crucified because you said nigger. You should be crucified, and that's that. Without making these people taste it, without having a laughing witch getting pilloried for everybody to see, these fuckers ain't going to stop to think twice.
The one thing, I don't think that's the only way, though. That can't be the only way. There's got to be
what other way is
another
there?
way. Well, no, if every feminist stood up, every moderate feminist stood up and said what Laughing Witch did was horrible and she's not one of us anymore, we reject everything about her, that would be another way of doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when's that going to happen? That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen if we do the same tactic as them. Then you know what I mean?
We're going to lose our moral authority here if we use it.
Gentlemen and ladies.
I don't know if we have any moral, if anyone has any moral authority, but yeah.
Well, I hate to interrupt, gentlemen and lady. We are reaching the end of our broadcast time, and this, I think, is a delicious topic. I would love to bite into it again, but we are running out of time, unfortunately. So, with that in mind, as we had mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I thought we might have a little fun, and I'm going to preface this very largely that we're having a joke here, but I was kind of thought it would be funny if we all either basically said something that could be amusingly quote mined for later use, but literally just sort of hand it to them and see if anyone falls for it. I don't know how you want to put it, but I think we should all have we can have a little fun with that, and of course, as always. I'm going to be, a shitlorderly and arbitrary and start to my left. And Bane, what you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going to regret saying this, but Kevin Logan is my love child.
New Day, or Space Vagina, what you got?
I daydream of a pregnant wife making me a sandwich in the kitchen.
But is she barefoot?
I think you had one earlier, but go ahead. If you want to use a different one, that's fine.
Okay. What did God say when he made the first black man? Damn, I burnt one.
You know what's funny about that? I remember reading somewhere there's an African legend that the reason why there are people of different colors is that the first few were undercooked, and when they finally got it right, that was black people. So that actually parallels. That's good.
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. You're up, Philpop.
Oh, sorry. What do you get if you cross a black man and a Mexican?
What?
Somebody who's too lazy to steal.
God, that's horrible.
Oh God. Oh God.
I own a minivan and I live within 400 feet of 2 schools.
This will be so fine. This is awesome.
I'm expecting something gloriously weird out of positive. Go ahead, give us what you got, the all-seeing eye.
All right. In the spirit of something being taken out of context, I'll give some context first. So, when I was a little kid, there was at some point when I could say, "I'm in love with a 6-year-old." Take that last sentence.
Okay, Rebel, what you got?
Just take the last one.
Rebel, you're up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it. I am going to say that Miley Cyrus is the pinnacle of second wave feminism. Congrats.
I'm sure that would light as many fires as anything else. Fido, what you got?
In a similar vein to positive, Asian jailbait, harder to tell.
Oh God. Oh, that's terrible.
I know, it's terrible.
All right, well, I've got one that can be taken out of context. I can't stand German cars. They have this inherent lust for power that I just can't quite stand. Always sucking on my outlet. It's awful. It's just terrible. No? All right, fine. I'll just do something else that can be taken out of context a little better. Nigger, 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 nigger.
Jesus.
Wop, wop,
And you're
wop.
from Texas, aren't you? That just doubles the effect.
Yeah, there's something for everybody, you know.
The Ching Chong Wing Wang School for Cultural. How did that joke go? The one that
I don't
Sweet
remember.
Park flipped out about.
Well, here's the thing.
Cultural appropriation.
As I understand it, she should be funnier because the original book on comedy was The Ancient Art of Laughter by Tai Ming.
Shit.
All right. Well, that's enough. That's enough for me. Say good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.